When I make guides, sometimes I wonder, will this information be useful? Should I just not say it? And that's the moment in which I reached 10,000 IQ. I'm gonna make a video about 50 useless things in Fear and Hunger! In almost all the maps of the game, the Crow Mauler is present out of bounds. Yes, even in some macabre zones, where he normally shouldn't even be able to spawn. In one of the conformations of the mines, there is a door that blocks Nosramu's hideout, and it even has a special dialogue if you interact with it. Wait, why is this useless? Because this door opens only if you enter into Mahabre, and to reach this door in the first place, you need Volcan Water to surpass the Salmo Snake Pool. And Volcan Water is obtained in Mahabre. What? Do you want to use an empty scroll on Volcan Water? That's the real useless thing. If you bring a demon kid to Pocket Cat and are Darcy, he will ask if you are his mama. But if you are anyone else, he will say this. Is he your daddy by any chance? I would like to be your daddy too. A non-main character party member with no limbs will still follow you along like this. Don't ask me how does the human body work in this game, please. After sacrificing your husk in the Temple of Torment in the past, if you go back to the present, your husk is still alive and kicking. Welcome to Time Paradoxes in Fear and Hunger! While you are in the dream version of Old Guard, if you go all the way left, you will be able to reach a certain zone where all the events like dead characters, blood, bear traps, sowing of characters, all of that is present, having literally access to an out-of-bounds zone without having to go out of bounds. For the oldest members, this is the moment in which we met Obamna. And if you go here, do you still have Book of Enlightenment? I do can, but I don't want to save scam my win. Where? Obamna? What? The empty scroll is programmed as a character, or technically 3, one for each verse. Basically, what you do when you use an empty scroll is you are giving a name to the character first verse, to the character second verse, etc. And then the game checks the names of the characters and decides the item to give you. Najra is immune to the status Tentacles, which is the one put on you by Entangled from Sylvian. And this is good, but we are not considering that Najra cannot reach Sylvian physically. Najra does not follow you in the void, Najra will never be present in that battle. So, as the title of the video suggests, it's useless. All the weapons in the code have a special property, like bleeding or poison, but it's not a chance to apply those states. It increases or modifies the chance to apply the states, but you still need to have something that effectively applies the state. And since all the things involved are always with 100% chance to apply the state, this is basically useless. In the code, there is a non-existent weapon called Soul Cleaver. Like the Bloodborne one? Is this a discarded reference? The game has different maps for each different character you can put on the chains in the Temple of Torment. And now there is the most interesting part. In each one of these maps, the blood on the walls is different dependently from the characters. For example, look, Darcy is gonna have the blood in this position, while Kahara is gonna have the blood in this position. Jumping into the toilet will make you instantly learn the skill Suicide, while normally it's obtained only at 50 mind. And there is an even more peculiar thing. If you are the Abominable Marriage and you jump into the toilet, you will not learn this skill. I guess becoming an Abominable Marriage made you feel less the darkness, feel less the death, whatever. If you use a Soulstone on the girl, you're gonna get the Ancient One Soul, which does, you may guess it, nothing. In the mines, you are able to examine the armor of the Old Knight. It will say there is something under it. What may be under the armor? If you try to steal, you will discover it immediately. You can steal 1 diamond from the Old Knight, which does, as you may imagine, nothing. All the doors will take 0 damage from Leech skills. Leech skills are basically the majority of God of the Depth skills, such as Needleworm for example, which makes sense to be honest. You cannot steal life from a piece of wood or iron, but it connects to the next point. Chambara circles can be damaged by Leech skills. Again, it's basically useless, but what? And don't even try to tell me, actually, those iron circles are made of blood and skin. Shut up! Shut up! If you fail necromancy on a skeleton, you will see that the skeleton has a detached arm from the body, and is using it as a weapon. But if you then use necromancy and get it as a party member, he will have both arms attached. And no, it's not just a Lego thing or something. If you sew off an arm from the skeleton, you cannot reattach it. When you enter in battle with a door, you will get minus 500% critical rate, basically making it impossible for you to crit doors. The spawn of certain optional enemies, like the Dark Priest in the torture chamber, is not decided when you start the run. It is decided once you enter into the torture chamber. But if you exit from that zone immediately, then you can re-enter and the probability will be re-rolled again. Wait, why is this useless? Because you cannot see the opponent before having to exit. Also, if you rely on killing these particular enemies to triumph on the dungeon, your strategy is kinda questionable. At that point, just save scam for something better on the bookshelves. In the Grand Library in the past, there are some weird eyes which are gonna look at you as you move through the library. But once you discover the secret of the library and you defeat Valtail, if you go back, you will not see a single eye in the library. I think the conclusion is pretty simple. Valtail was spying every single step you took in the library. If you kill the Crow Mauler into a zone and then leave that zone and go back, Crow Mauler will be disappeared. That's because he will be teleported at the Crow bed in the basement near the Iron Shakespeare. And the fun fact is you can loot both of them to get in total 2 Crow Emblem keys. Near the Tree of the Depths, there is a thing. You can have a lot of interactions with it. You know what do these interactions do? Nothing. The max damage required to kill an entity is 10,000 HP for entities like the Girl God of Fear and Hunger, and the lowest damage required is 20 for the majority of the limbs in the dungeon. Let's take symbolically the Cleaver Arm of the Guard, except if you play on Terror and Starvation difficulty. The Cave Dweller, which is guarding the Cube of the Depths, will have a different drop depending from if you kill it. In that case, it will have the Ritual Spear, but if you get the 10% chance of the whole village being massacred, then the game will tell you get a Ritual Spear, but that's actually an Iron Spear. If you are a new player, Mix of Red and Blue is one of the best items you will be able to find. But what you don't know is this item has a fire element. You know what does this mean? If you have fire protection equipped, such as the hard leather armor, it will heal less. You can very simply see a comparison between Kahara having fire protection and Darcy not having anything. But this also means if you have the fur armor or the Jingaza Kabuto, which increases the fire damage taken, it will heal more. Useful? During her battle, Darcy can use Shield Bash against you, which puts a status that seems to lower your defense. But not only this is irrelevant as defense is not used for Darcy attacks, but the status itself actually doubles your defense. Moonless and the Scarab both have situations in which they're gonna have their attack increased, but once again, attack is not involved in their damage calculation. This is because all their skills are programmed to do a fixed amount of damage. If you use an explosive vial on one of these mumblers, there is the possibility the mumbler will stay alive without its head for whatever reason. If you fall down in the torture chamber, you will be able to reach the prisons, and there is gonna be a book very near the position in which you fall to. This book will say their legs got busted. And that's funny because this is one of the places where your legs will not get busted by falling. Inside the Flesh can only be reached with a certain probability by dying against a guard. Dried meat and the rotten meat have the same sprite, despite having a literally unused sprite in the game files for the rotten meat. Was this a choice? Did the developer forget? I don't know. Before opening the secret torture room, you can actually interact with the wall, and it will say that the rocks here seem loose somehow. How? They seem identical to me? You can only pray to the God of the Depths at the Gorogorov statue in Mahabre, which is useless! Kahara will refer multiple times to Darcy as Dollface, even in the literal moment in which they find Legard dead. The developer addressed some of the new features of the game with YouTube videos. First one being the dream section in Rondon in a video called Bloodborne 2D. And then there was also a feature no one asked for, but a feature you all deserve. Oh, what is this? Oh. Fear and Hunger was born as a pen and paper RPG during a 3D modeling class. Miro developed the game around questions made to other people. The full game release happened on December 11th, 2018 on itch.io and GameJolt. Later on the 21st of January it was also released on Steam. The Ballista Guard actually has two ballistas. One is the big one present in the overworld. The other one is the little portable ballista he has in the battle. He's like the Archer Queen, technically. The name of the gods are purely random. The dev literally went, Olmir isn't cool enough. What about Olmir? And honestly, even though I like investigating this kind of stuff, I also love the simplicity of, I did this cause it's cool. Gorogoroth was supposed to be hard mode only, as confirmed by this message. I don't know how much stuff was available at the time, but if you want to blame someone for this not being real, blame the developer for not being able to beat him. War Scythe used to be one of the most broken weapons in the early versions, due to the high accuracy it had. Today, unfortunately, it's just a shadow of its former self. The girl does 0 damage without a weapon, but there are some ways to let her deal damage even like this. For example, Cave Mother Soul or Crow Mauler Soul will increase the attack by a whopping 2! Then you can also combine these with stuff like Brown Vial, and look, she's able to deal 20 damage. But I mean, there is some satisfaction in being able to see her literally punch a new god into the face and kill it. Ring of Steelblood and the Thorned Ring normally cannot be removed, but there is a special and very specific interaction in which you can actually remove one. If the girl has it and you go and take the Peculiar Doll in the prisons and you keep it in that event, you are gonna unequip the ring. The Night Spectre can be killed. It is tedious, yes. It has 10,000 HP, yes. It can only be damaged by otherworldly damage, yes. It is pointless as you won't be able to enter into the Nosramus hideout regardless, yes. Will he still appear in the Old Knight battle? Yes. Is this useless? Yes. Kagurabachi was never added into Fear and Hunger. When you recruit Kahara in the prisons and then he leaves and steals something from you, he can steal 20 bottles of whiskey. You can actually plant small seeds into the Cave Dweller village. Then, if you leave the zone and re-enter, you can actually collect cave moss, which is a food, but are you really starving so badly that you need to rely on this RNG drop to plant it into the Cave Dweller village to get a small food? Like, come on! Several enemies have particular events in case they are inflicted with specific status effects, but in some cases those enemies are immune to those status effects, causing the event to never happen. The Blood Golem, using its bare fists, does slashing damage. Wow, those are some sharp fists. Despite Iron Mask protecting from blindness, Isaiah, the literal person that wears the Iron Mask, can be blinded during the battle. This is honestly one of the very few cases I've seen in this game in which actually something on the opponent is weaker than when used by you. Let's do a 51 bonus fact, okay? Do you know that only 36% of people that watch my videos is actually subscribed? So if you liked this, consider subscribing, leaving a like, let me know how many of these facts you were able to already know before watching the video, and I will see you next time.